You know, I swear towards the end of the day, the front part of my hair just starts to look like a bunch of tan grafts over and over. It's really fucking annoying. No, that's just worse, if anything. Maybe I'm only noticing it now because I've got lighting now. Well, kind of, if you can call this lighting. I don't know if this really makes much of a difference, but also get ready for the horribly messy desk. I've just put my fucking bedside lamp on on the desk, and this is our professional lighting now. Also, as you could probably see on my laptop there, we are going to be watching a video today. So yeah, we're gonna be, imagine like the two worst things in the world, Steven Crowder and PragerU, you know, on the internet, okay, and put them together to cause one kind of like right-wing cancerous cesspool, and that's what we have here. So that's what we're gonna watch today because we hate ourselves. So I'm fucking hyped.
Democratic socialism. It's not the same as socialism because it's democratic, right? Or something, right?
Socialism is democratic inherently. Why am I doing this?
As though adding the word democratic in front of a word changes what it means.
Yeah, it literally does. You change the name. That's the whole point. It's something different when you change the name. I mean, you know, for the record, while socialism is inherently democratic, democratic socialism is different from socialism, because democratic socialism is, you know, more liberal, it's still capitalism, despite the name, and then real socialism is the big scary we're going to collectivize your toothbrush ideology. You know, that one.
Hamas was democratically elected as the government in Gaza, despite the fact that the destruction of not only Israel, but the eradication of all Jews is in their official charter. Robert Mugabe, or Bobby Mugabe if you prefer, was democratically elected by a loving majority in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, how's that working out?
Okay, so let me get this straight here. You're saying that because these things were democratically elected and they didn't go amazingly, that means democraticness doesn't make it... Democraticness? Democracy doesn't make things better. No, I mean, would you prefer if they were dictatorships? Because that seems to mean what you're implying, like...
Venezuela? Well, Hugo Chavez, noted personal favorite and friend of Sean Penn, to whom he constantly pointed as being unfairly characterized as a dictator when in fact he was democratically elected as a socialist. Well, how'd that work out for Venezuela? Well, it's now on the brink of collapse, despite it being one of the most resource-rich nations in the entire world. Basic things like eggs, milk, flour, and toilet paper are either too expensive for the average Venezuelan or simply out of stock. Out of stock, mind you, democratically.
Hey, do we really need to talk about Venezuela? Like, Jesus Christ. If anything, the state-owned economy, state-owned, not socialism, actually helped to prevent a lot of the damage that happened when the oil markets crashed. What I love about Venezuela is that the exact same thing happened in Russia, where they were exporting a shit ton of oil, the market crashed, they got fucked, but when it happens in Russia, it's glorious free market capitalism, but no, when it happens in Venezuela, it's all due to the fault of socialism and nothing else.
I know. Some of you will say, well, that's not fair because really we knew all along it technically was a dictatorship. Okay, that's fair. Let's move on to example number 2. Denmark? Okay, here's the time where you point to an entirely homogenous population about 1/60th the size of America's, and you point to that as the blueprint. Okay, let's go there.
So, let me get this straight. You're saying that because there are different races in a country, that certain laws won't work for that country. Isn't that literally racism? I mean, saying that a certain system can only work when the country consists of only one race of people. Yeah, no, that's literally racism. I mean, you would probably go on to talk about how much crime that black people commit, and then say that this would hurt the fragile system of socialism, but do I really need to explain this again? Because, like, this has been repeated so many times. Yes, black people commit more crime because they have worse off material and economic conditions, especially in the US, which is why we see in the US the higher crime rate compared to other parts of the world with the same race. Of course they're going to commit more crime That just makes sense. If they're poorer, they commit more crime. Anyone would do this. You substitute them with any other race and the exact same thing will happen. And you know, I never really understood why the size of the country mattered. Surely if you're a bigger country, you're going to have typically more access to natural resources and typically a bigger population, so you have potential for more production power. Where are the negatives in this? I don't see it. How does having a bigger country tie down your ability to implement certain laws? Come on, explain to me. But if it helps, real socialism was actually intended to be global anyway, so the bigger the better, as some might say.
And the Prime Minister was so fed up with Americans pointing to it as a beacon for socialist success that he felt compelled to clarify, "I would like to make one thing clear. Denmark is far from a socialist planned economy. Denmark is a market economy."
Well, yeah, in this quote he's referring to real socialism, because he's actually trying to kind of refute this stupid usage of the word that the Americans are doing. And then you guys are using that in the exact way that he's trying to stop you using it. You're misusing his quote, telling you to stop misusing the word. The levels of irony, they just keep going.
Sweden? I love Sweden. Okay, great bikini team, and thanks to that country, my armoire now doubles as a bookcase. Speaking of which, the founder of IKEA, let's be honest, the only really cool export from Sweden, aside from a few good hockey players, left Sweden because of the stifling high tax rate. So, Sweden, good place, not bad people, but a successful model for a viable economy in today's global market? Incorrect.
Okay, that's just not how you measure the economic success of a country. It's just not how it works. I mean, look, by this point, you're not being stupid. You're being intentionally dishonest, and you know it. You know it. You know this is not how it works. You measure it based on things like the GDP or standard of living, not the fucking one company decided to leave one time because they had enough success to go international. I'd call you retarded, but I know you're not that stupid, and that is saying something. Like,
the greatest enemy of socialism is reality. The reality that human nature will invariably pull certain people toward individualism and success, and others toward laziness and collectivism. The tension between the makers and the takers always leads to socialism's inevitable collapse.
my human nature, my collectivism and individualism dichotomy. Like, do I really need to?
But I know that I can give you examples of failed socialist economies until I'm blue in the face.
I can give you examples of working socialist economies. Probably more examples than you can give me of failed ones, actually.
And you won't care. Because at least socialism is inherently more morally altruistic than the evil, greedy, capitalist warmongering seen in the West. Greed? What's more greedy than wanting to take from someone else something that you haven't earned?
I mean, of course, the whole point of socialism is to take back our surplus that we've worked for and the capitalists didn't actually do anything towards. But I know you don't even really understand that concept, and that's not even what you're referring to here. You're referring to taxes, because that's all socialism is to you, just a big scary state. But whatever, we can work with that too.
If you don't pay your taxes, once you get through the IRS and the auditing and the lawyers and the PR stunts, people make you give the government your money, an increasing amount of your money, the more successful you are, or they send in scary men with guns to take you away.
So what that we have to use gunpoint, as you put it? Of course we need to use force to exert our laws on people. We need to make sure that people abide to the society, to make sure we uphold our infrastructure. That's just basic logic. And you might say, oh, well, if society needs to do that, then we're basically living in a totalitarian dictatorship. Well, if that's the case, then literally every country in the world is a totalitarian dictatorship. And I can't say totalitarian. Blech. But come on, I'm a communist and I wouldn't even go that far. I mean, what's great is you're probably the type of guy who would boast about how great America is for my freedoms.
Now, so long as the people having their stuff taken away at gunpoint are in the minority, and the majority feels that they'll get to benefit from more said taken stuff, you'll always be able to win that decision through a popular vote and claim the moral high ground through democracy.
Okay, well, it's not actually the minority having their stuff taken away, it's literally everybody. Or at least it should be. You have to exclude the ruling class who exploit loopholes which they created in the law so they don't actually have to pay anything, but nonetheless, you get the point.
Putting the word democratic in front of your socialism doesn't make it any inherently more moral nor less violent. Did you get that? American wannabe socialists also. Get a job. Please. please, like a real job. You'll probably have to shake first. I'm Steven Crowder for Prager University.
Conform to society. Stop asking questions. Do not resist your assimilation. Jesus Christ, and you call yourself an individualist.